Earlier this year, I did a video where I had the tractor and I had the commercial hay fertilizer that I put out on the hay fields. And what I typically do in midsummer is I switch over to a liquid. And so some of you might be wondering, why would you put down a granular and then use a liquid? And that's what I'm going to tell you about today. So in the spring, we use the combination of lime and this Green Mountain fertilizer, and this has nitrogen, potash, and phosphate. Different kinds of liquid fertilizer. Some of you may be familiar with this Miracle Grow liquid feed, which you hook on these little doodads here, hook it to your hose, and then you can adjust on here how much goes on, and you could do your lawn with it. So this is about a pint. Let's just say, let's call it a pint, 16 ounces, so yeah, pint. And here I've got a gallon jug. So what you do with this right here is you turn it to feed, and what that does is it automatically figures out how much of this fertilizer you would put with your water to green up your lawn. This one right here, you kind of have to do it yourself, but this one's designed for hay. So we just cut all the hay fields off right here on this farm. And what I want to do is, now that I've cut it off, I've given it a few days to recover, it's rained on it, I want to go ahead and get this ready for a second crop to come back. So we're going to use the liquid. So my college algebra professor will be really happy with me because I use algebra on the farm all the time. And one of the things I have to use algebra for today is figure out how much of this I'm going to put in the tank on the back of the gator. So the gator holds 15 gallons. This is for 50 gallons, that's the ratio it tells you. So to do a little bit of quick math, it tells me I need about 3/10 of a gallon. So a quart is 1/4 or 0.25. So it'll be a little bit on the low side, but I'd rather go a little soft and a little heavy, just because you don't want to overdo it. So one of the things about liquid fertilizer that I like mid-season is that it's fast. So you apply it and it goes on the leaves, so it's foliar, whereas the granular treats the roots. So you're basically working from the bottom up. And in the spring, you never know if there's going to be freezing or what the temperature is going to be, so having a tank full of liquid fertilizer on the back of the gator or whatever, not really probably a great idea. Also in the spring, the grass might be a little bit brown, so I want to work my way from the bottom up to green it from the base to the top. Well, here in the summer, it's the opposite. I've got green grass, and usually after you cut it, you're cutting off 70–80% of the stem of that plant, so you're going from here to here. And if you did that with your lawn, you're going to turn it brown. And it does do that with a hayfield also, which is why I want to give it a few days to kind of catch itself and come back. So what we've done is we've waited a few days, it's rained on it, and the grass has gotten some green back in it. So we're going to mix up some of this liquid fertilizer, put it in the tank, and go apply it. So one of the good things about liquid fertilizer is, if I was going to do a lawn, say I had a golf course, and I wanted to put some herbicides in there, it's easy to mix it in with the tank. Whereas I use basically hayseed everywhere, because if the animals go on back, sometimes I'll just run electric fence across the lawns, and they can graze the lawns. So I don't use any herbicides on the land at all. I just use straight fertilizer, and it gets everything green, and I'm happy. So if you are one of those people, you have a pristine lawn and you want no weeds, liquid might be the way to go, because you can add herbicides to it, and it's also very quick acting, and it's great in the summer. The caveat to that is, in the summertime, you don't want to go out on a scorching hot sweltering day with the sun beating down and put this on the grass, because you have the tendency to burn it up. So if you're going to put down a liquid fertilizer in the summer, you better have to do it in the evening when the sun's gone down. And I prefer to do it in the evening, because even if you go out early in the morning, you still might have some of that residue on your grass. So I don't recommend that you do it in the morning. I would always say do it in the evening, and even better, do it in the evening on a day before it's gonna, light rain is coming. So one of the great things about liquid fertilizer too is it has less tendency to run off. So if you're putting down a granular fertilizer and you get a heavy rain on it, a lot of times it'll just wash off somewhere else. Whereas the liquid fertilizer, that's not typically going to happen. It usually just beats it into the ground. So I wouldn't want to go do a whole hay field with liquid feed, because that would be pretty cost prohibitive. So this is great for a small area, like right around the front lawns of the house. This is a great way to keep the front area of the house or the backyard, whatever, clean and clean and green. So this is a great alternative for that, but it's really cost prohibitive if you want to do a big area. Also, it'd be really difficult to hook a garden hose on this and figure out how you're going to spray it across the hayfield. So we're using a battery sprayer. It's a 12-volt sprayer that I've got on the back of the Gator. We're going to mix this up and put it down, and we'll get going. Is one type of fertilizer better than another? Well, no, they're both just as good. It just depends on the application that you want to use. For example, if I've got a driveway that I've got concrete out there and I use that fertilizer, well, those little balls have iron in them, and if I don't clean that all up, every one of those little places where the balls go, if it gets wet, you're going to have little rust spots all over your lawn. Also, when you're broadcasting that granular fertilizer, it goes absolutely everywhere. So it goes in your flower beds, it goes on your driveway, it goes everywhere you don't want it to be. So it's really difficult to control the granular fertilizer, whereas the liquid fertilizer, I have complete control over it because I'm either using the wand on the sprayer or I'm using the spray nozzles on the boom itself. The granular and the liquid fertilizer have the same ingredients. The concentrations are going to vary depending on what the application is. For example, this is a haymaker fertilizer, and that's also a haymaker fertilizer. So the ratio of nitrogen, potash, phosphate are going to vary. They're going to be a little different than what would go on a regular lawn. You'll see those three numbers. The first number is nitrogen, and the nitrogen is what makes it green. And sometimes you'll get a fertilizer. You can see these a lot of times. I see them at Tractor Supply quite often. It's just a green up, and it's just straight nitrogen. What that does is that just goes down and boom, green grass, but there's not a lot of nutrients in there other than the nitrogen itself. And to be honest with you, these three ingredients, I would rather put manure down, but I don't have enough manure to use. So I don't have that option available to me, but by all means, if you had manure, that would be ideal. The second ingredient is going to be phosphate, and so a lot of times the phosphate is low, it's a lower number, and then the final number is potash. Additionally, a lot of times these liquid fertilizers have more synthetic ingredients, whereas the granular tends to have more natural ingredients, but not always. But anyway, it's very important if you are a farmer or someone who gives it a lot of attention to your lawn, and it's important to you to do a little bit of investigative research on fertilizer and its use and application. And I want to tell you that I appreciate you watching today. I appreciate all the viewership, the comments, and talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.